Welcome to LBTV, another version of it. I have my special guest, good friend of mine, Gary Ellerson, played for the Packers as well as Detroit Lions. And now he's on the big show, 1250, every day from 2 to 6. And it's good to have you, Gary. What's going on?
All right, boy. Thanks for having me.
Loosen up now. This ain't this is an interview, but be like if me and you in the barbershop.
I've never been to a barbershop with him.
Well,
you won't take me.
Yeah. But the first thing I want to get into with you, Gary, player contracts are kind of a big thing now. It was something in the news with Allen Iverson, went through a tough time, and players go through that. And then you see guys like Clay Matthews getting a big contract. I mean, they didn't have that kind of money when we played, but I think for the most part, our player contracts, is it the sign of the times? You sign 2 or 3 guys to big deals and everybody else get the minimum? Or how you see that shaping out?
I think when you look at the NFL, the landscape of the NFL right now, a lot of guys getting paid a lot of money, but it's pretty top heavy. And when you have a guy like Aaron Rodgers, he's going to command the most money. When you got a guy like Clay Matthews, he's going to command the most money in his position. When you look at teams like San Francisco, they don't have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers who's going to command that kind of money yet. When you look at Seattle, they don't have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers that's going to command that kind of money yet. So those teams can't afford to go out and be, pretty liberal in free agency. I mean, they can go out and spend money in free agency because they don't have a lot of money tied up into the best players in the NFL. But if you look at the Green Bay Packers, they're not afforded to do that because they have 2 of the best players at their respective positions. So that means all the money is going to go to those 2 guys.
So, Baltimore gave Flacco a huge contract, and then right after that, they won the Super Bowl. They gave him a large contract, and then a lot of the players, they couldn't sign a lot of the players. Reed is now with the Texans. Ray Lewis retired, but do you see the Packers maybe doing that? You're paying Rodgers a lot of money now. They have to let a lot of guys go because they didn't re-sign Jennings.
Right.
He had to go to Minnesota. They couldn't match that deal.
Well, the Packers have done it along the way for a long time. I mean, you can go Al Harris, you can go Campman, you can go Cullen Jenkins, Brett Favre, obviously. You talked about Jennings. They have let big-name guys go who were going to get some big contracts. So they've done that. So, but they've been able to remain competitive. And the Ravens will see if they can follow the pack away and still remain competitive. So you can't pay everybody. But I think the Packers have done a good enough job where they've been able to keep the core of their guys. And LeRoy, this, they're always going to stay young. I looked at yesterday. I believe right now Aaron Rodgers, I think, is probably the oldest player on this Green Bay Packers team coming into this season, which is, if you think about it, it's just mind-numbing. He's the oldest player on this team. That's crazy. So
I think, sticking with the Packers real quick, and then we're going to move to the NFC North, their whole division and draft and all that kind of stuff. But if it's a one position I thought that needed to be addressed in free agency, it probably could have been safety with Woodson not being signed back. And maybe even running back. And I think Cedric Benson is going to come in, I think, this week and maybe do some of this. If you had to do free agency right now with the team, if you had it right after San Francisco, if you had to address their need, what needs do you think that you would address?
Well, for me, I think the offensive line. I think since 2008, Aaron Rodgers has been the most sacked quarterback in the NFL.
51 sacks last year.
If you're going to pay him $25 million a year, you might want to protect him.
Okay.
So I think they have to look at, if I had to do free agency, I would look at an offensive line. But, that's coming. I think they can address those needs really in the draft. I mean, they got Derek Sherrod, a first-round draft pick from 2 years ago, but we've never seen him.
Yeah.
And they got Marshall Newhouse. He's been here, about 4 years. I mean,
seems like forever.
He's probably a 5th, 6th-round draft pick at left tackle, and they haven't panned out. Balaga, I'm hearing, at right tackle, but they may move him to left tackle. They just need to shore up their offensive line. They don't have any depth. I mean, guys behind them are not doing anything. You look at their guards right now. T.J. Lane is sitting. Who's behind those guys? Evan Dietrich Smith now at center. Who's behind him? So to me, their offensive line, they need to shore up their offensive line.
Yeah, because it seems like if you look at Ted's MO, he's brought in some linemen over the years, but they haven't always been, top-tier talent. But again, this line, though, Gary, with the experience, could go from worst to first if these guys, because Newhouse, they brought in a lot of guys, but for some reason he's still there. So And I think if they can get on the same page, I think they'll be fine staying with the zone blocking scheme. Let's move to the NFC North.
Sure.
Let's go to Chicago Bears. They got a new coach, Mark Trestman. Still got the quarterback. What do you think Chicago needs to do, and what areas do you think they're lacking?
Well, I think they did a good job in free agency. I mean, they went out and got an offensive lineman,
Yeah.
which they needed real bad. They went and got a tight end.
Got a
in free
tight
agency,
end.
which
Yep.
they needed really bad. And now they let go a guy at Brian Urlacher, who
Yeah.
I think is a heart and soul of the team, a lot like Brett Favre was with the Green Bay Packers. The difference between that move and what the Packers did is that they got a guy named Aaron Rodgers waiting when Brett Favre left. In the Chicago Bears, Brian Urlacher, they don't have anybody ready to take Brian Urlacher's spot. I think that's going to be a big key for this team moving forward. It's not so much on the field stuff, LeRoy, you know about this.
Yeah.
It's more the locker room stuff, the camaraderie, and how he lead guys and how guys follow him.
Yeah.
And so that kind of stuff, they're going to have to figure out how to rally around somebody. Maybe it's Charles Tillman. Maybe he becomes that guy on defense that they kind of rally around.
So Chicago's close, but they're not there. You take a step back because of new coach. But Detroit. Now, we all know the Detroit Lions can score.
Yeah, he can.
But Gary Miller and Martin Mayhew, he's the general manager.
That's your buddy, isn't he?
Yeah. I don't know about the defense there, though. I don't know if they can. The defense over the years has been horrible.
Yeah.
And I think that says a lot when you got Megatron and wide receiver. So maybe in the NFL draft, this draft, they can concentrate on defense to be competitive. I think when they made the playoffs a couple of years ago, they exhaled. They haven't been there in a long time.
Right.
But if you look at Detroit, what do you think's missing there? I mean, for them to be a top-tier playoff team.
Well, that team is pretty strange to me.
Yeah.
You know, they should be better than what they really are. Now, they have holes.
Yeah.
Defensively, they should be better. Now, in the back end, their secondary, not very good.
Not
I
good,
mean, that's
yeah.
really part of their problem. But then they don't play with a lot of discipline. They do a lot of stupid stuff. And so, you know, which kills
They want
the
to be
team.
tough, I would think.
Yeah, they want to be too tough. They
Right.
want to go for bad all the time.
Right,
And
right.
which ends up hurting them.
Yeah.
And so, but they have the talent. I mean, I like what they've assembled there, but they just don't seem to play together as a unit. And I don't know, maybe that's the head coach, is that Schwartz, or how does he get these guys to play together as one
Yeah.
complete unit? They just don't play well together, but they seem to have talent.
Well, I say Minnesota for last because Greg Jennings will be coming back. I don't think it'll be up to the level of Brett Favre. I don't think nothing can be like
No,
that. But there is a level of when he comes back, hopefully he doesn't have a great game, obviously. But Minnesota, a team that spends a lot of money, Gary. What do you think going on up there? I mean, we
well,
got
you
Adrian
look at-
Peterson. You can do whatever you want.
Right, if you look at them from last year,
Yeah.
second place, they came to Lambeau Field.
Yeah.
They put it on the Packers. Okay, got to win. Adrian Peterson ran crazy when he came to Lambeau Field.
Yeah,
did
he
it
does.
to him when he went up to Minnesota. So they've, you know, they can do some things to the Packers, and this is what the Packers need to do. The Packers need to get a little bit more physical up front. And you saw when they played the Vikings just was a physical team with Adrian Peterson. They're ready to beat them up. So they're going to be in it. So you might say next year, if you're trying to see what the record's going to be, that may be another game that's going to be a split because they're going to be better. They're going to be better offensively because of Jennings. They had nobody like him. So what are you going to do? You're going to put 9 guys in the box for Adrian Peterson? Okay, great.
Right.
Now I got a guy we can throw it to.
Yeah.
Now, it looks like they may draft a receiver, too, in the first round to go along with Jennings, which is what they need. Now, the biggest thing for them is Ponder, which is your guy, Florida State.
Yeah.
Can he get it done?
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be the big key for them.
And there was reports that they offered Jennings during the season $10 million a year.
The Packers.
Do you think any truth to that?
I don't know, but that's what we've been hearing all
Yeah.
along. And then all of a sudden, the bottom kind of fell out because he got injured. And,
Yeah.
you know, if they offered him that money before he got injured, I can see them doing that. But once he got injured, you know, his value fell down a little bit. And so, you know, that's a chance you take. I mean, you know that sometimes we take a risk and it doesn't work out. And then he went to Minnesota, and it's good for him. I think the Minnesota deal will be good for him.
I want you to explain to all my viewers, what is this Packer way? When you're looking at the NFL draft, what's in the DNA of a Packer way type of a guy that Ted would look at and say he fits? this guy fits the Packer way. I mean, what is that? Is it a myth? Is it just a slang thing, or what? I mean, what do you believe? You played for him.
Yeah.
What do you?
Well, I think it all started, LeRoy, with our class of guys back in the early 80s.
Okay.
Got into a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Got into a lot of trouble within and around the community.
Yeah.
And I think what they wanted to do, and they have done it, they addressed, they wanted to change the image of the team in and around the community. And then there were certain things then called the Packer way. They want to start recruiting Packer people, Packer way, who was going to be good in the community.
Right.
Stand-up guys, guys that don't have a huge past. Not that they won't take a risk on a guy. I mean, they will, but they are monitored much closer than they would have. I think that has become the Packer way. It's a small. Green Bay is a small city.
Yeah.
I remember Forrest Gregg used to tell us, I can drive around the city in 15 minutes. I can find out what each and every one of you guys are doing, and he can.
It's kind of scary.
It is, because you're out there and everybody sees you. They know who you are. So you've got to be able to draft guys or have guys come to Green Bay who can fit in a small town, almost like a fishbowl, and everybody knows who you are, but then be a good citizen. I think that is what they're talking about when they're saying the Packer way.
So, Gary, thank you for
boss
being
man.
on the show.
Yep,
And hopefully we can have you back later to talk about what the Packers did in the draft.
We can do that.
And what they can do coming up.
Can you just clear up one thing for me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it LeRoy or is it LeRoy?
Well, it's on camera, it's LeRoy. Off camera, just call me whatever you want. I really can't. I really don't care. Thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. My guest, Gary Ellerson. Listen to him every single day from 2 to 6 on The Big Show, 12:50 a.m. And thank you very much for tuning in.